Welcome to episode 233 of the Scarlet Faithful podcast. I'm Aaron Brightman, coming to you on Monday, December 4th, the day that the net rankings were released by the NCAA for the first time in college basketball this season. Wanted to cover the net rankings, why they're important, how to track them, how to understand them, and specifically from a Rutgers perspective, where they stand right now and the opportunity ahead for them both this week and beyond this season, and where they kind of need to be in NCAA tournament contention. So let's first start with where Rutgers has shaken out to start the rankings. They're at number 72, which is 8th in the conference in the Big Ten. So not terrible. Certainly not where you want to be, right? You want to be in the top 50, ideally. Rutgers, for the record, was number 40 last year when they were ultimately left out of the NCAA tournament. And it's important to note that the net rankings is not the end-all, be-all. It is a tool that the NCAA tournament selection committee uses. It is not, a predictive analysis. It has some of that. It does, incorporate KenPom and things like that. But there's a lot that goes into it. It certainly impacts decisions, but it's not the only measure and factor that the NCAA tournament selection committee uses. That being said, quad 1 and quad 2 wins, quad 1 and quad 2 games, quad 2 and quad 1 losses, those have the most impact based on how teams are valued. So in terms of speaking with Rutgers, they have 2 quad 1 losses to start the season. Princeton comes in at number 8 and Illinois is at number 23. Now, what is a quad 1 loss? So it varies. And I should note also, things change throughout the year. So what each team is ranked and their quad designation based on where the game is played is today will change potentially tomorrow, the next day, and could be completely different in March. So that's important to note as well. Quad 1 in terms of Illinois, home games are 1 through 30. So Illinois comes in at number 23. That's a quad 1 loss for Rutgers. Now, on a neutral court where they played Princeton, a quad 1 game is in the top 50, and an away game is top 75. So Rutgers lost at a quad 1 neutral game to Princeton, who's in at number 8, and then Illinois at number 23. Great news about Princeton is that they're in great shape to be quad 1 or quad 2 this year. It's not going to be a bad loss. It's going to be something called a value loss. Losing, you can't go 2-16 in quad 1 games and expect to have a good season, right? But losing quad 1 games is not the end of the world. You want to win your fair share as well. Right now, Rutgers has played 2 quad 1 games, 0 quad 2 games, and they have 15 remaining combined. So they have, as of right now, 10 quad 1 games left and 5 quad 2. So ideally, you want to go around 500, if not better, of course. But if you're around 500 in your quad 1, quad 2 games, and you eliminate any potentially really bad losses of the quad 4 variety, you are in relatively good shape, worst case on the bubble for the NCAA tournament, most cases. So in terms of what Rutgers has done so far, it's kind of funny. The lowest ranked team they've played is Georgetown. They're at 221. That's a quad 4 home win. They have 1 quad 3 win, which was against Bryant, who's ranked 156. They went down and beat Florida Atlantic, which is a huge win for them. But then, the quads are designated, but also where you are within that, right? There's a high quad 1, low quad 4, whatever. Bryant's 156. St. Peter's is 163. Howard's 188. So those are actually high quad 4 victories. Now, quad 4 only gets you so far, but it's evidence that the schedule has been better in non-conference play for Rutgers so far. And they don't have any notable wins. Bryant is their best victory at number 156, but they're shaking out at number 72. So there's value there. And now there's opportunity. Quad 2 games on the horizon this week at Wake Forest and at Seton Hall. Now, it's important to note the quad 2 designation on the road is different than home and neutral, just like all these quads. So if Rutgers plays a team 31-75 at home, that's a quad 2 game. On the road, it's 51-100. That's neutral. and then away is 76 to 135. So that being said, Rutgers is playing Seton Hall and Wake Forest. Wake Forest is at 133. That barely falls in the quad 2 designation. 135 is the cutoff. The ironic thing is if Rutgers wins, Wake probably falls down out of quad 2 into quad 3. So then you're looking at a quad 3 win. If Wake wins, it's a quad 2 loss for now. Now, I think Wake is pretty good. I think they're going to move up. I think whatever happens on Wednesday, if Rutgers wins, I think it ultimately will be a quad 2 win. So it's a really important game. And then Seton Hall is firmly quad 2. You know, they're at 81, and the designation for a road game is 76 to 135. So Seton Hall is not even that far away from being a quad 1 game, which is top 75. So a lot can change. What happens this week, a lot can change, but I think change for the better, not the worse. And even so, quad 2 games are hugely important. So Rutgers has an opportunity to make a real dent in the net rankings and start building a credible resume in terms of quality wins. A quad 2 win is a quality win, whether it's home, away, or neutral. And typically the committee on their sheets, when they're judging teams, they're looking at a quad 1, quad 2 combination. Now, they do designate high quad 1 victories. That was really the key for the Rutgers team 2 years ago that made the NCAA tournament because they had 5 high quad 1 victories. They did have 3 really bad losses, including that devastating quad 4 loss to Lafayette. But having those high quad 1 wins go a long, long way. Rutgers did not have enough of those last year, and they had enough quad 3 losses. What was killer at the end of last year was when Seton Hall lost to DePaul in the Big East tournament, fell into a quad 3 designation, and I think it was Wake who fell into a quad 3 win late in the season. So it's, you know, and I'm not saying this is the best system. It's not the best system. I'm not saying I love this system. I don't, but it's important to know the system because it's a huge, huge part of how teams are judged in terms of the NCAA tournament. So Rutgers is right in the middle of the pack of the Big Ten, kind of right where I thought they would be at this point. And the next 6 games are really big. You have 2 quad 2 games with Wake and Seton Hall. Then you host a quad 4 game against LIU. And then you have a neutral court quad 1 game against Mississippi State. Had a terrible loss this week in the Southern, but is still in that quad 1 designation. They're number 40 overall, which on a neutral court keeps them in that top 50 range is quad 1. So even if it falls to a quad 2 down the road, I think Mississippi State is, you know, they're missing some guys. They're a good program. It's a quad 1 opportunity as of now. And then after Stonehill to end the year, boom, you start Big Ten play 3 of 4, 2 in a row, 3 of 4, and 5 of the first 7 Big Ten games in the new year are quad 1 games. So opportunity is everywhere. That I'm talking about at Ohio State, at Iowa. Lots of laughs. Indiana is a quad 3 home game right now. Michigan State is a quad 1 on the road. Nebraska's quad 3. And then you're back at Illinois, which Illinois and Purdue back-to-back on the road. The Purdue game's at home, thankfully. So ironic thing, too, a few quad 4. They have 2 quad 4 Big Ten games right now. Penn State at home and Maryland at home. Maryland came in at 210. They're by far the lowest of any Big Ten team, not even close. Again, a lot of this can change, but it's important to know, and it's going to be a daily thing that you can check NCAA.com. I'm going to update it obviously all the time, and it's important to look at the you want Rutgers to win every game, right? But some games are valued more than others. Now, winning them versus losing them is valued differently as well. So you have to avoid the landmines. You have to avoid any potential quad 4 games that could be devastating to your resume. And Rutgers has, let's see, 1, 2, 3, just 4 quad 4 games remaining. As of now, LIU and Stonehill at the rack in December, and then Penn State at home at the end of January and Maryland at the end of February. Now, road wins are valued really high by the committee, whether it's and net rankings value them really high as well. So Rutgers can move up quite a bit this week if they're able to win both of these games. We talked about just non-conference. I picked them to go 9-2 in the non-conference. If you win both of these games, and assuming you take care of business against Stonehill and LIU, you go worst case 9-2. And Mississippi State being the great equalizer there. That is key. 8-3 is okay. 7-4 would be tough. 7-4 would mean you'd have to win 12, 13 Big Ten games, most likely, to be in the NCAA tournament picture. And 7-4 non-conference would put them at 7-5 at the start of the new year, going into Big Ten play. They need some mojo, and this is a week that they can get some mojo back. Wake Forest is not a good defensive team. They are very good offensively. They have some size, but they're not a physical team. They're a good shooting team. They're a team, though, that Rutgers should be able to get up and down in transition and be able to score. I'm going to have a full preview before Wednesday night's game. And then Seton Hall does not have a big interior presence at all. Of course, it's going to be a complete war at the Peru on Saturday night. But this is a winnable game, too, and Rutgers owes a little payback after last year. So huge opportunity for this team to get on track. I know people are really down after Illinois. Completely understandable. But just know that Illinois is a really good team. I think, top 3 in the Big Ten. I wanted to clarify, too, when I said that Terrence Shannon was the number 2 player in the Big Ten. I meant guards when I referenced Tyson Walker. Obviously, Zach Edey is number 1. But I think Shannon is right there with Walker in terms of top 3 in the league. And Illinois is just really good. So Rutgers has 2 high-end losses to start the season. They don't have any notable wins, and I know that makes people jumpy. And, there's certainly some concerns long-term on this team. The rebounding is a major issue. But, listen, when Mawat Mag comes back, he's going to bring some rebounding. He's going to bring some defensive versatility, rim defending, physicality, brings an edge. There's a long way to go with this team. And I know it's easy to jump the gun and say, I've seen someone wrote on Facebook, they're going to go 4-16 in the Big Ten. Listen, college basketball is not for the faint of heart, and it is a marathon. As much as college football, and I love to mock our friend Stuart Mandel. He talks about college football being chaotic. College football is not chaotic. And you see what happened over the weekend with the college football playoffs. It's the blue bloods, rain all day, every day. And not that Florida State isn't traditionally a, more of a blue blood program than not, but conference definitely had something to do with it. College basketball is a roller coaster, and teams can be on killer stretches for 2 weeks. Just like the games runs dictate outcomes in games, they do seasons as well. You can have a 2-week stretch where you're unbeatable, and a 2-week stretch you can't buy a bucket and win a game. So if you're going to jump off the ledge on December 3rd, 4th, whatever, I would strongly advise against that. And no team taught us that better in college basketball than Rutgers 2 years ago with Ron Harper Jr., Gio, Caleb, Cliff, Paul, when that team got off to such a terrible start, Jacob Young, and they had that incredible 4-game winning streak and got back into it and made the NCAA tournament ultimately. So it's far too early to buy into any narrative that this is going to be a disappointing season. Certainly was discouraging and disheartening. I know some people didn't like that I said that Rutgers got hustled on Saturday. It was just that they were smaller. Sure, that's part of it, but just because you're smaller doesn't mean you're not having the same intensity. You have to, if you're a smaller team, you can't just match the intensity of your opponent. You have to be more than that. And you have to find ways. And Rutgers is built a certain way, and they're going to have to highlight and get the most out of those positives to win. They can't all of a sudden think that they're going to beat these teams in the half court, slowing it down, ISO. That's not what's going to work for them. And that's what Illinois got them into that type of action, and it didn't work. Rutgers is built for speed. They're built for disruptiveness with the press, with guards that can fly up the court. You have wings that can attack the rim. You You have athleticism with Cliff, getting him in open space, alley-oops. You need shooters, and that's where Gavin Griffiths needs, I think, more attention. Yes, you're going to lose something on the defensive end, but you need to figure that out. This team is still gelling. I know I saw another one, just people frustrated that they haven't made more progress so far. A lot of teams have bad losses already. A lot of teams have bad losses. Rutgers doesn't have a bad loss yet. It could be a lot worse. They haven't looked great in their two toughest games. Certainly a cause for concern. But these net rankings prove that Rutgers is right in the hunt, and there's a golden opportunity this week. Now, if they lose both and you want to freak out, I'm not still going to freak out, but I do understand why you would be really upset. I'm not going to be happy if they lose both games, but an opportunity to split the week puts them, right, probably closer, a little bit even better than where they are today, because that it would be a quality victory they don't have today. But you win both, you're in good shape. They have a chance this next month to really position themselves to go into Big Ten play full bore, to make a tournament run. And I think they're going to do it. So thanks for listening and watching the Scarlet Faithful podcast once again, and I'll talk to you tomorrow.